Indonesia's history begins with some of humanity's earliest chapters. The Indonesian archipelago was home to Homo erectus, discovered in Java in the 1890s. These Java man fossils, dating back 1.5 million years, represent some of the earliest human ancestors found outside Africa. Around 40,000 years ago, modern humans arrived in the archipelago. The discovery of cave paintings in Sulawesi, dating back 45,000 years, represents some of the world's oldest known rock art. The Austronesian migration, beginning around 4,000 years ago, fundamentally shaped Indonesia's demographic and cultural landscape. These seafaring peoples brought advanced maritime technology, agriculture, and languages that became the foundation of modern Indonesian culture. The Srivijaya Empire marked Indonesia's emergence as a major maritime power. Based in Palembang, Sumatra, Srivijaya controlled crucial sea lanes through the Strait of Malacca, becoming one of the world's most powerful thalassocracies. The kingdom's wealth came from controlling trade between China and India, taxing merchant vessels and monopolizing valuable spices. Srivijaya's influence extended across much of maritime Southeast Asia. The kingdom was a major center of Buddhist learning, attracting scholars from across Asia. The Chinese monk I Ching studied there in the 7th century, describing it as a major Buddhist center with thousands of monks. The Majapahit Empire represents the pinnacle of pre-Islamic Indonesian civilization. Founded by Raden Wijaya in East Java, Majapahit grew to become one of the largest empires in Southeast Asian history, claiming suzerainty over much of present-day Indonesia, Malaysia, and parts of the Philippines. Under Prime Minister Gajah Mada, who served during Queen Tribhuwana's reign and later King Hayam Wuruk, Majapahit reached its zenith in the 14th century. Gajah Mada's famous oath, the Sumpah Palapa, declared his intention to unite the entire archipelago under Majapahit rule. The empire's capital in Trawalan featured sophisticated urban planning, with extensive water management systems and religious complexes. Majapahit's political system combined Hindu-Buddhist kingship concepts with indigenous Indonesian traditions, operating through a complex network of vassal states. Islam arrived in Indonesia through peaceful trade and cultural exchange. Arab and Indian Muslim merchants established trading posts from the 13th century onward, gradually introducing Islamic teachings. The first significant Islamic kingdom was the Sultanate of Samudra Pasai in northern Sumatra, established in the late 13th century. The spread of Islam accelerated during the 15th and 16th centuries. The Wali Songo, 9 saints, played crucial roles in spreading Islam in Java, adapting Islamic teachings to local customs. This syncretic approach created a distinctive Indonesian form of Islam that incorporated Hindu, Buddhist, and indigenous traditions. The Sultanate of Aceh emerged as a major power in the 16th century, controlling northern Sumatra trade routes. Under Sultan Iskandar Muda, 1607–1636, Aceh reached its zenith, maintaining diplomatic relations with the Ottoman Empire and European powers. In Java, the Sultanate of Demak succeeded Majapahit, followed by Mataram. The Mataram Sultanate, under Sultan Agung, 1613–1645, controlled most of Central and East Java and conducted campaigns against Dutch colonial forces. The Sultanate of Ternate in the Moluccas controlled the valuable spice trade, particularly cloves and nutmeg. These islands produced spices worth more than their weight in gold, attracting European attention and colonial intervention. The Dutch East India Company, established in 1602, fundamentally transformed Indonesia's political and economic landscape. The VOC sought direct control over spice production and trade, establishing its headquarters in Batavia, Jakarta, in 1619. The company's monopolistic practices devastated traditional Indonesian economies. The VOC forced local populations to sell spices at below-market prices while prohibiting trade with other buyers. The Spice Wars saw the near extermination of the Banda Islands population when inhabitants resisted Dutch control. The VOC's bankruptcy in 1799 led to direct Dutch government control. The cultivation system, introduced in 1830, forced Indonesian farmers to dedicate 1/5 of their land to export crops for the Dutch government. This system generated enormous profits for the Netherlands while impoverishing Indonesian populations. The Dutch introduced modern infrastructure, including railways and telegraphs, primarily to facilitate resource extraction. The ethical policy, introduced in 1901, emphasized education and development, but failed to address fundamental inequalities in the colonial system. The Indonesian national awakening began in the early 20th century. The establishment of Budi Utomo in 1908 marked the beginning of organized nationalism. Sarekat Islam, founded in 1912, became the first mass political organization, attracting over 400,000 members. Sukarno emerged as Indonesia's most prominent nationalist leader in the 1920s, articulating a vision of Indonesian independence that transcended ethnic and religious divisions. His concept of Pancasila, 5 principles, provided ideological foundations for Indonesian nationalism. The Japanese occupation created new opportunities for Indonesian independence. While harsh, Japanese rule weakened Dutch colonial authority and provided Indonesian leaders with administrative experience. The Japanese allowed formation of Indonesian military units and provided training crucial for the subsequent independence war. On August 17, 1945, just days after Japan's surrender, Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta proclaimed Indonesian independence. The declaration was deliberately simple, reflecting the revolutionary moment's urgency. The Dutch government refused to recognize Indonesian independence and sought to restore colonial control. The resulting Indonesian National Revolution, 1945-1949, became one of the 20th century's most significant decolonization struggles. The revolution involved both guerrilla warfare and international diplomacy. The Battle of Surabaya, October-November 1945, became a defining moment, demonstrating Indonesian determination despite military defeat. Growing international pressure, particularly from the United States, forced the Netherlands to negotiate. The Round Table Conference in The Hague, 1949, finally produced an agreement transferring sovereignty to Indonesia. Indonesia's early independence was marked by political instability. The country adopted a parliamentary system with multiple parties, but frequent government changes hindered effective governance. Regional rebellions challenged national unity and strained resources. In 1957, President Sukarno introduced guided democracy, arguing that Western-style democracy was unsuited to Indonesian conditions. This system concentrated power in the presidency, while restricting political party activities. Sukarno promoted anti-Western rhetoric and played a leading role in the non-aligned movement. His confrontational approach toward Malaysia and withdrawal from the United Nations strained international relations and the economy. The transition from Sukarno to Suharto began with the mysterious events of September 30, 1965. General Suharto blamed the Indonesian Communist Party and began a systematic campaign that resulted in mass killings of an estimated 500,000 to 1 million people. Suharto gradually assumed power, formally becoming president in 1968, beginning his 32-year rule. The new order prioritized economic development and political stability. Indonesia's oil boom in the 1970s funded ambitious development programs. The government achieved significant improvements in living standards, infrastructure, and education. Indonesia became one of the Asian tigers, with GDP growth averaging over 7% annually for 3 decades. However, development was accompanied by widespread corruption, and the gap between rich and poor widened. The new order maintained control through military power and political restrictions. Only 3 political parties were permitted, and elections were carefully managed. Human rights violations were systematic, with suppression of independence movements in East Timor, Aceh, and West Papua. The Asian financial crisis of 1997-1998 triggered political upheaval. Student demonstrations evolved into demands for Suharto's resignation. The shooting of students at Trisakti University sparked massive riots. On May 21, 1998, Suharto resigned, ending 32 years of authoritarian rule. The Reformasi period brought fundamental changes. Press freedom was restored, political prisoners were released, and new political parties were permitted. The 1999 elections were the first free and fair elections since 1955. Constitutional amendments between 1999 and 2002 established direct presidential elections, term limits, and human rights protections. The military's political role was formally ended. Presidents Abdurrahman Wahid, Megawati Sukarno Putri, and Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono successfully managed Indonesia's democratic transition while maintaining stability. Indonesia today is the world's third-largest democracy and a major emerging economy. The country has maintained political stability while managing significant challenges. Democratic institutions have proven resilient with regular elections and peaceful transfers of power. Economic development has continued, with Indonesia becoming a G20 member. However, challenges remain, including religious tensions, corruption, and environmental degradation. Regional autonomy has devolved powers to local governments, improving services but creating new challenges. Indonesia's international role has expanded significantly, with leadership roles in ASEAN and other forums. The country promotes itself as a bridge between developed and developing worlds. Indonesia's cultural diversity includes over 300 ethnic groups speaking more than 700 languages. The national motto, Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, unity in diversity, reflects efforts to balance unity with diversity. The Indonesian language has served as an effective unifying force. Indonesian arts blend indigenous traditions with influences from India, China, the Middle East, and Europe. Religious diversity is maintained through the principle of tolerance enshrined in Pancasila. Indonesia's history reflects the complex interplay of geography, culture, and politics in shaping a modern nation-state. From ancient maritime kingdoms to contemporary democracy, Indonesia has demonstrated remarkable adaptability and resilience. The country's experience with colonialism, revolution, authoritarianism, and democratic transition provides valuable lessons for political development in diverse societies. Indonesia's success in managing diversity while maintaining unity offers hope for other plural societies facing similar challenges. As Indonesia moves forward, it continues to balance tradition with modernity, unity with diversity, and national development with global integration. The country's journey from colonial territory to major democracy demonstrates the possibility of transformative change while honoring historical roots and cultural heritage. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and share it with your friends. I also create videos on the history of different countries and empires, so check out those too.